In our last discussion, we made it clear that one of the characteristics of a good prophecy is that prophecy cannot be controlled by the prophet. Cannot. That is point blank. Any prophecy controlled by the prophet, in other words, he can decide to prophesy right away, just based on demand. It is a divination. It's not prophetic. It is not from God. Today, we'll be discussing prophetic structure. This is one of the components of a good prophecy. Prophetic structure. Prophetic structure comprises the prophet at one end and the subject, the person that receives the message, the person who's have interest in this message, the main bearer of the message. Between the prophet and the bearer of the message, comes in timing. The timing to deliver a prophecy. The timing to deliver this prophecy. The timing to deliver this prophecy, very important. Now, most prophecy today comes with no timing. It is not really packaged with time as to when to deliver it. So that brings the prophet and the subject together. Timing. The next is the venue. The venue where this prophecy can be given is the venue. The venue should be appropriate. The venue should be appropriate. Now, in that venue comes the audience. You must select your audience properly. The audience must be selected to fit the kind of prophecy that you're giving. The drivers, the audience are also part of the drivers. Next is the symbol. But before we get to the symbol, some prophecy you may not need audience. Sometimes the audience is actually for your own glorification. If you have the subject and you deliver the prophecy to the subject can create his own audience, just like you find with the woman at the Jacob's well. She, after receiving the prophecy, created her own audience. She, after receiving the prophecy, in the book of John chapter 4 verse 28, the woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city and said to the men, "Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Christ?" So, in this situation, there was no audience when Christ gave her the message of operated in the office of the seer, the gift of a seer, word of knowledge in her own case. Her own case was not prophecy per se, but word of knowledge, which is the seer's office. She ran out, created her own audience. In other words, Christ did not give her this message where people are gathered. It was purely her own privacy. And immediately she left the scene to go and meet other men and say, this man told me things that I ever did. But she didn't go ahead explaining the details. So she's creating her own audience in her own terms, in her own privacy. So Christ was able to maintain her privacy, but she's creating her own audience in her own privacy. So that is for audience. We have the next is symbol. Symbol. Some prophecies cannot be explained adequately by some prophets on that very time. It may take time to explain. Sometimes you will need some signs to explain some certain prophecies. Thereby you go with the symbols. You have to explain what the symbols that was illustrated to you to the subject. Just like you find in the book of Revelation. In the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 13, John saw this vision, and in verse 13, Revelation chapter 1, verse 13, and in the midst of seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and get about the paps with a golden girdle. You see, John was able to explain the revelation he got. In explaining it, he did not transcend, he did not explain some of the symbols he encountered. So, he decided to give out those symbols, as it were. You can see he gave it out as he saw it in the spirit realm. Sometimes you just have to give out the symbols. You just have to. You have no options in this case. Give out the symbols as it is. So these are the structures of a good prophecy. You must create a time to deliver prophecy based on the knowledge you've gotten from the spirit realm, and that time must be appropriate for the subject and appropriate for you, and also ultimately for the prophecy. The venue, the environment matters. The environment matters. It's not only in church that you receive prophecy. You can receive prophecy at home. Also, we talk about the audience. The audience, you can have audience in the church and give prophecy, but some prophecies are not meant to be given there. You can create an audience, or the subject who received the prophecy can as well create an audience for him or herself. Then we'll talk about symbol. We'll give example of symbolic um, prophetic explanation as seen in the book of Revelation chapter 1 verse 13. Subscribe to this channel so that you can get subsequent videos. Thank you for listening.